Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. It's Wednesday morning. We're here at Rocket Space London. I'm Michael Dean. This is my good friend Sam Zawadzki. He is the founder of Property Technology. You're going to have the benefit of us just having a chat about what he's doing and frankly why it's so important if you are a realtor or an estate agent in the UK or in Australia, and what his business can do for you, and then also if you're one of our customers, a property developer, a property entrepreneur, why working with a realtor or an estate agent that has the benefit of Sam's products is going to be really important for you in the future. So without further ado, we're going to get started. Sam, so I'm just going to have a little sip of this coffee. Just so you know, we are at Sam's new home, which is Rocket Space, which is a fantastic co-working hub in Islington, and they've got these very nifty mugs, so I'm very much enjoying this, and very much needed coffee, so you'll have to excuse me if I take sips every now and again. Sam, could you do me a favour and just tell the people out there exactly what property technology does, and who's it designed for, and who's it meant to benefit?
Yeah, sure. We provide a really straightforward service for estate agents, which helps them respond to email inquiries. To explain it in its most basic form, when someone sends in an email inquiry from Rightmove or Zoopla, we send a response and we have a survey with a couple of follow-up questions to help qualify that lead. In essence, it's a really simple and straightforward piece of technology, but the impact that it can have is where it gets quite exciting, particularly for busier estate agents that have lots of inquiries coming in. So if we look at sort of the property market right now, a lot of people are complaining about the difficulties of recession and lower transaction volumes and sales, particularly in central London, slower rentals and lower rental prices. And an amazing statistic that came out recently was that Countrywide in the last year has closed 204 branches.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot.
A lot of branches to be closing. But at the same time, another report came out on Property Industry Eye that said they ignore 1/3 of their Rightmove email inquiries.
Wow. Why would you turn down that many? I say turn down. Why would you ignore such a huge volume of potential leads? I mean, it's mind-boggling. That's really surprising. Yeah. That's a lot. Yeah. And we've talked about this before, and but privately. But I just find it really surprising. Really surprising. That's really quite substantial. Yeah. That's a lot of money left on the table.
It's a lot of money left on the table.
I mean, in someone like Countrywide's experience or example, I mean, what do you think that translates to in Countrywide numbers in terms of ignoring that many leads? Can you quantify that? Is there a figure you could put on that?
So, in terms of actually being able to achieve the best sale or rental price and ensure that the deal time is quick, it's absolutely massive.
Yeah.
There's a 1/3 excess demand that's being ignored, that's coming through by email. What's also really interesting in terms of lost revenue to understand is when someone inquires and to look around a house that's for sale, there's a 20% probability that they also have a house that they need to sell.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like to buy your house, but before I buy your house, I need to sell mine. And actually, I need an estate agent to help me sell my house. So
so there's a real compound effect from those misleads, basically.
Huge compound effect. So if we just take 100 email leads that want to view a property for sale, the statistics state that 1/5 of them also have a house that they need to sell. Wow. If you ignore 1/3 of those 100 leads, you're ignoring 7 potential vendors. And London's slightly different.
7 potential vendors.
Yeah.
What's the average fee earned by an estate agent per sale?
Very reasonable, but 1,500 to 2,000 for outside of London.
Wow.
In higher volumes.
So you're talking anywhere 14 to 20,000 pounds potentially.
And those kind of volumes, 100 inquiries, that could be for a not particularly busy office, that could be per month. For a very busy office, that could be per week.
Wow.
And when you look at it in the scale of Countrywide's business, with over 1,000 offices, or previously over 1,000 offices, that's like huge.
Well, yeah, you look at those, you work out those numbers. Yeah. Wow, so that's really interesting. Actually, sorry, because we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, and but you'd never explained that to me. I mean, we were talking about on Friday how, in many ways, you love purple bricks, for example, because actually purple bricks is creating a need for a product like yours. Do you want to just go into a bit of detail and explain why purple brick, why you like purple brick so much, when theoretically you'd think, given that you service the estate agent realtor sector, that they're actually taking away you'd think they were taking away your potential customers?
I think it's about business in this century is going to be very different to how it's ever been conducted before.
Yeah.
And it's really about quality of service for the consumer. The property industry's typically been very confused because who's the estate agent's consumer? Yeah. Is it the vendor or landlord? Is it the tenant or buyer? I'd argue that it's both.
Yeah.
If we look for an analogy, and one of the best stated ones is Blockbuster. Blockbuster Video, you had to walk in, you had to drop off your video, and it got killed by Love Film and then Netflix, because the consumer doesn't want to engage in that way. They don't want to interact.
It's time. They trade their time, don't they? You know, it's convenience, lack of friction, trading their time, and yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're looking to buy a house, you're not going to want to surf the web during your daytime, and you're not going to be making inquiries in the daytime. You're going to do it when you're out of work, when you're at home. Probably when you've got Netflix on and you're surfing the web while
dual screening.
Exactly, dual screening, triple screening most probably as well. Yeah.
And this is what Purple Bricks is really. They've got it, and the rest of the industry haven't got it. They've realised that when you inquire on Rightmove, you want an instant response.
Yeah.
And that response, you want to know when you can actually get around and see the property.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want these layers of complexity and confusion where you're not being responded to, or you get responded to 3 days later, and the response is then, they don't have a time when you can actually see the property. So I think that the future of estate agency, it's not going to change massively in terms of the service that's delivered.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to be how that service is delivered.
Yeah, of course.
You still want... I actually recently sold a house and I used a traditional estate agent because I wanted someone that really knew the area, that could get a good price, that had sold properties in the area rather than Purple Bricks. I still think there's a massive place for good estate agency, for being able to take someone round to really help them find what they want, because the consumer usually doesn't know what they actually want.
Well, I think one of the criticisms you might have with something like Purple Bricks is you can be, as a seller, a little bit penny wise and pound foolish, because you think, okay, well, I'm going to save all this commission in estate agency fees, but that's a false economy when let's say the saving that let's say that you've saved £2,000 or £4,000 or £5,000 or £10,000 in estate agency fee, and then ultimately they've sold your property for potentially a multiple of the saving. Less essentially than you might otherwise have got. So I mean, from that perspective, that's where a good estate agent comes in, because they know the market, they know the value of things, and you've got to be smart. You've got to be smart about things, and clearly, if you as an estate agent or realtor can have a tool that enables you to be responsive to what your customers want. I say customers, your customer obviously is the vendor, but what your customer's customer wants, ultimately that's what you're facilitating. If you can make the experience for the buyer of a property more frictionless, more seamless, give them that kind of on-demand service. I mean, I have no personal interest in Sam's business, but it's something that I've looked at a lot of property technology companies over the last 18 months, and for me, this is one where I could see a genuine need and desire for the product that's being provided, and you can see that the genuine value add that's being provided by this kind of product. But so bearing that in mind, I mean, it's quite interesting that sometimes it can be very opportune, and if you, I think buying and selling properties, and I think even particularly at the higher end of the market as well. Sometimes I was with a customer 2-3 weeks ago, and he was saying we had a very short window to get hold of a particular buyer, and then when we couldn't get things agreed with the buyer, they found something else and they were gone. You know, they had to get something done. You know, they had a short window for the buyer had a short window for which they wanted to buy the property, and if that wasn't able to, you know, if the seller wasn't able to respond to that, or the estate agent wasn't able to respond to that, then that's it, game over. You've lost that sale. And particularly as you go higher up the value chain, you end up looking at fewer potential buyers. And if you miss the potential buyer that's there, then that's it. You've missed the boat, and you might be waiting another 2 or 3 months for them to come along. So having a tool that I think enables you to respond when the buyer of the property wants to be responded to is absolutely imperative in the current sort of 21st century environment.
It's almost unfair. The playing field isn't really level.
Yeah.
Purple Bricks in 5 years has gone from not existing to being worth over £1.26 million. This crazy growth. Billion, sorry.
Yeah. I think I might buy them. They're worth 1.26 billion. Yeah.
But they've grown so rapidly because they've had these new tools.
Yeah.
They've had these new tools that have let them scale. And if you're a high street agent, maybe a couple of branches even, and you know you've run a business successfully for the last 15 years, your priority is going to be someone walks in the door, you take them seriously, and you're going to have a conversation with them, have a coffee, talk about their search. Someone phones up, you're going to take them seriously, have a conversation on the phone, invest 15 or 20 minutes. Someone emails, it's your last priority, it's the lowest priority, you might not get around to it, it might be a few days, it might never get followed up, but really the value of that walk-in and the value of that email are completely the same.
It's this, you know, usual as being proactive over being reactive. At the end of the day, we're all busy, we all live very busy lives, and you know, you'll always find that most people in business are reactive and not proactive, and you're absolutely right. You know, someone who's ringing the phone, you're going to respond to the guy who's ringing the phone because that's right there. It's screaming at you, not the guy that's pinging you an email, and definitely not the guy who's pinging you an email at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday evening.
And I think where the online agents that are using good software are beating the high street agents is the consumer trends have changed.
Yeah.
So less people are calling. When Rightmove was launched, the majority was calls, 80% calls, and it's now 70% emails. People don't want to speak on the phone. The millennial generation just want to do it all by email and text message. They don't actually want to speak to someone.
Or even via app or chat.
Even via app or chat, yeah. A massive trend has been the increase in web chat on agents' websites.
Oh, I mean, something that we're considering at Avamore is actually to create our own app. And I was previously asked to comment on an article on Bridging Commercial about lenders like ourselves creating apps, and I did say some of it's a little bit gimmicky, and maybe some of it was more to sort of enable tech valuations rather than traditional business valuations. But I'm coming around to the idea just because I think it creates it does create a very good interface. But as much as anything else, it's creating that opportunity for your customers to chat with you or chat with someone within the team, and that obviously creates opportunities as well for chatbots and that sort of thing, where in time with the right technology, when the chatbots are, I think, sufficiently evolved to be able to respond in a good way, in the right way, because at the moment they're quite limited, and ultimately if you ask the wrong question, they're just going to say yes, well, we'll get a human to come back to you, and the human will reply in the next following day.
That opportunity to speak with people, I think that's really the key. You're onto the key there. We have a small sales team, and the amount of energy they put in trying to get to speak to agents is incredibly difficult. And then, because agents are so busy doing viewings and handling phone calls, and whenever I see big businesses like going to buy some new clothes from H&M and getting there 5 minutes before closing, and they say, sorry, you can't come in, we're just closing, and you know exactly what you want to go in for, there's a sale to be had there, and they're just closing the door.
They're just leaving money on the table. It's crazy.
Just leaving money on the table. And that's with a £15 shirt. When it comes to leaving money on the table for a £450,000 property sale or a £3,000 rental, there's business that people are wanting to do with agents, majoritively in the evenings and weekends, and agents are just saying, sorry, we'll get back to you later.
I mean, that's just frankly not okay, is it? I mean, you look at those, you look at those, you just look at that and you think that's just insane. But the funny thing is, it doesn't just apply to residential real estate. I mean, I've seen it in commercial real estate where, you know, deals and opportunities were forgotten because, you know, an agent or someone would rather go to the pub, or, you know, would rather go on holiday. I mean, you can't spend your whole life working on, you know, I think we're all realistic and understand that that's the case.
What's interesting there is when a vendor or a landlord is deciding which agent they want to go with,
Yeah.
Purple Bricks is proactively saying 24/7 we'll respond to all your inquiries.
Yeah.
Not a single one of your leads will be missed. We're going to do the best we can to ensure that you get a good deal for your house.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I'm selling a property or even renting out a property, I want to use an agent that I know is hungry to do well and
Yeah.
do well for me, or that I can rely on and saying, yeah, I know they're human, but they've got amazing processes put in place. Like, if I will go in and send a test inquiry about my property on a Sunday afternoon, well, I got a reply back and they moved me forward in the process.
I went into an estate agent last year, I think it was last year, and I wanted to look at some properties, and they asked me to register, and their registration form was a pen and a piece of paper, and of course I did it because there was no other choice, and you know, they were an agent that clearly I wanted to try and get some property from. But I couldn't help but think, this is the 21st century. You know, we have all this technology at our disposal, yet for whatever reason, these I wouldn't call them morons, but you know, these guys, they're still insisting on using this sort of very traditional methods of signing up, and that's so inefficient, because you need a secretary to type all of that up.
It's difficult to change people's processes. Yeah. If I've run a successful estate agency for the last 17 years, I think, why do I have to bother with this? You're just trying to sell me something else. This is extra complexity. I can't be bothered. But the reality is, in 5 years' time, if you don't adapt to these changes, you'll either have gone out of business or you'll have sold to a competitor, because the new businesses and the consolidation that we're seeing is really driven by the people that have the processes in place to scale.
You talked about Countrywide, and Countrywide obviously is a massive, absolutely massive estate agency organisation in the UK. They've got the wherewithal to make the necessary investments in technology to make themselves competitive with their online counterparts, and be very much digital ready. So let's talk about the small independents, like the one I went into where I had to fill out the paper form. How does your product help someone like that, and how, make themselves digital ready and make themselves current in the current environment?
The biggest barrier that small agents have is they're worried about setup costs, training, logins and passwords. So we took all this feedback on board when we developed the software, and we have none of that.
Yeah.
The way that you currently do business as an estate agent is through your email, and you've got those inquiries coming in through email. So we just link to your Rightmove account, and we just send you the qualified inquiries through email.
Yeah.
We can sign up a new agent in 15 minutes. All we do is we send an email to your Rightmove account manager, your Zoopla account manager, on the market account manager, saying please authorise Lead Pro to link, and once that link is done, that's it, that's the software linked. There's no passwords for you, no login, nothing you have to organise. You'll just get those qualified inquiries coming into your inbox, and those automatic responses, the personalised, white labelled, own branded automatic responses, will be going out. You don't have to do a single thing. So making setup as simple as possible for estate agents has been key for us. And when we first started, it wasn't so easy, and we've improved it, and we've seen growth really start to increase because of that. It's a bit of a no-brainer. We usually, when we can reach agents, get 2 or 3 new small independent agents signed up a day, and the feedback that we get from them is fantastic. One agent just, Perry Power, just left us a nice Google review saying, actually, we got 2 new vendors signed up this week because on the questionnaire they identified they had a house to sell. We prioritised calling them above all the time wasters that we didn't even need to call, and we got them signed up as clients.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge process change for traditional small estate agents. It's just they're getting more information in their email, and from the consumer's point of view, they've had a response faster than anyone else. For a small independent agent, if you're competing for attention from the consumers with the large high street agents, you're going to get through faster because you're getting an instant response out. So they're going to come and view your property and are more likely to buy your property than your competitors, because your competitor takes 3 days to respond to them.
Wow, I mean that's really quite meaningful, and I definitely think that if you're a developer or a property owner right now, thinking about selling, or you're looking to build something out in the future and deliver that and sell that into the market, having an agent that isn't going to leave money on the table, isn't going to miss opportunities, is absolutely paramount. And you should be asking your agents or realtors, do you have the technology to be responsive in real time?
Yeah.
Are you leaving money on the table? Are you going to let the guy down the road who's selling my competitor's property get the sale that I should really be having?
One of the stats that I would ask is, well, how many people have actually inquired for my property? Can they even tell you that? Do they even know? Are they tracking inquiries? How many of those inquiries actually move to view the property? You know, if you're selling a property and you've had 12 inquiries and only 1 viewing, there's a problem there.
Yeah.
There's a big problem there. So these kind of statistics, we produce reports for agents every week that track exactly these statistics. When are your inquiries coming in? What's the source of your inquiries? What's the conversion of those inquiries? So that you actually have that data, which you may not currently be tracking.
Okay. Look, I think what we're going to do now is we're just going to pause for a moment and take a little break, and we'll be back in 2 minutes after we just take a little breather, and we'll be giving you some more value bombs from Sam. Okay. So we'll talk to you in a minute.